Okay, we're back now with the fifth in a series that I've been doing about the personal energy field and the aura. And I notice that sometimes people don't watch them in order. So just to give you a little bit of refresher, I used this screen in the previous one. And so believe that is number 4. So if you want to go see number 4 in this sequence, you'll get more information. But what I've been trying to do is to give people who listen to this some practical things that they can do to learn and observe to confirm for themselves the things that I'm talking about. Because there's a lot of theory and ideas and so on, and it's perfectly understandable to try to sift through that and to have a lot of questions. But ultimately, whatever we learn is basically has to be confirmed somewhere in our own common sense and our own observations. Now, I had mentioned also in the earlier episodes that this is a really complicated subject, and the best way to learn it is to participate, to feel on a daily basis. Because if you can imagine that, as I said, there's a flame type of nature on our system that we have around us. You could call it an electric flame, flame-like, a fluid to some degree, and has a lot of components. Just like you might see a fire burning, and during what is say 10-hour burn, you notice a lot of different materials got burnt, and the flame changed tremendously in different colors and so on. Now, our personal energy field and aura is like that, but it lasts our whole life. So naturally, there's a lot of variation in our own personal energy field, and then there's a lot of variation, obviously. So it's a very complex system. There's a lot of movements and flow, and if you look at, say, a bucket of water, and you tap it a whole bunch of times with something, and it'll set up some vibrations in there, and those waves will bounce around inside that fluid for a long time. Water, as we've been shown by some great scientists recently, in particular, has this capacity to basically just remember. It takes in vibration and it fluidly adapts. So what I'm getting at is there's a very complex system here. Now, I said grounding is also very important to keep ourselves healthy. This field that we have around us is part of our communication system, our sensing system, receiving, broadcasting. It protects us. It supports our organs, our cells, and it's responsive to things like light and sound and other kinds of radio waves. Now, there are some things that some ancient teachers have called mudras, which is basically positions to put the hands in various ways to heal, to sense, to receive, to broadcast. And our hands have systems. They have electrodes, the finger points. Not only the very tip this way, but they have touch points, particular sensitive areas on the fingertips. So, there are things that we can do with our hands and our bodies to calm ourselves. There are things that human beings can do when they encounter other human beings to make peace. Because we know we're all carrying a little egg energy here. And when we come into a new encounter with somebody, you try to bring something of harmony. Intuitive understanding, mannerisms. Mannerisms are important. Gestures. You see, now, a lot of times people don't think about that. Or else they use it politically. You go to a political science school or something and they'll say, well, if you move your hands like this, then this can happen and you can be powerful and you can whatever. But there are also really basic, simple things that we can do for our own calmness. You see, you have to experiment with this yourself. For example, you see in this diagram that there's a beautiful flame and then there can be energy around inside there. And once again, I mentioned grounding, and this is going to be intuitively understood by a lot of people. But there's a particular types of notions that we can do as human beings that have a practical, electronic, and powerful effect. And I'll tell you one in particular, and I'll describe it. Now, the reason, for example, we can't handle all the infinite energy. Our bodies have a certain limit to them for sure. So, and we move in an incredible system that's absolutely stupendous, so which there's all kinds of incredible powers moving about. Think about it that way. Think about our little field here, and we're walking around the planet, and we might be feeling really good, but you just step right next to a tree, and that tree's got you about 100 times as far as energy field. So, the point I'm trying to make is about being humble. The process of grounding our own being so that we can receive, not own, but just to feel and to be conscious of tremendous inflow of energy that flows. And that's why a very practical thing, when we give, when we put energy out, it allows more to come in. If the river continues flowing down, then more water can come. It's a very practical thing. It has to do with the fluid use of energy. So I'm going to go through some more screens and refer back to this one and so on, but you have the images there. There are more things that we can do, and we have to go to a next segment.